I used 4 of the most popular at-home sleep tracking devices for 30 days. The Oura ring, the Whoop wristband, the 8 sleep mattress, and the Ultrahuman ring. In this video I'm going to share with you the results from my sleep tracking, and I'll show you the scientific studies done on these sleep trackers to see which one is the most accurate. You'll learn which of these devices has the highest accuracy for detecting all phases of sleep: wakefulness, light sleep, deep sleep, and REM sleep. I'm going to go through all the pros and all the cons of these trackers. I'm not sponsored by any of these companies. I'm just sharing my own unbiased opinion and what I personally like. Before I get into my opinion about these trackers, which one is the most accurate? Fortunately, we don't have to guess. There are several randomized controlled trials done with these devices. I'll put a link to an Excel spreadsheet made by another YouTuber called The Quantified Scientist, who compiled all that data if you want to read the studies yourself. He also looked at many other sleep trackers like the Apple Watch and Fitbit, which I haven't tried. But I'll give a brief summary of the top performers. In these studies, the researchers are looking at the device's accuracy on either 2 stages, which includes being awake or asleep, 3 stages, being awake, light sleep, or deep sleep/REM sleep, or 4 stages, being awake, light sleep, deep sleep, and REM sleep. Here's a list of the accuracy of these devices when just looking at 2 stages of sleep, being awake or asleep. The Oura ring, 93 to 96%. Polar Vantage V Titan, 92%. Oura Ring 2, 89 to 90%. Whoop Strap 3.0, 86 to 89%. Apple Watch 6, 88%. And Fitbit Charge 4, 87%. The 2-stage sleep tracking is obviously the most rudimentary and most basic. It just looks up whether or not you're asleep or awake. What we would want to know is the 4-stage sleep. Here's an overview of the 4 stages of sleep: being awake, light sleep, deep sleep, and REM sleep. Number 1, Oura Ring 3, 76 to 79%. Oura Ring 2, 61%. Whoop Strap 3.0, 60%. Polar Vantage V, 51%. And Garmin Forerunner 245, 50%. So as you can see, these commercial sleep trackers, they're quite good at tracking the 2 stages of sleep, being awake and being asleep. But these trackers are slightly less accurate when it comes to the different stages of sleep: light sleep, deep sleep, and REM sleep. This doesn't make them useless, but you need to take the results with a grain of salt. Out of these sleep trackers, it looks like the Oura Ring 3 is the most accurate one. It was number 1 in both the detection of 2 stages of sleep and 4 stages of sleep. So now let's go through these sleep trackers one by one, starting with the Oura Ring. Oura is a ring-based sleep tracker. It's been around for up to 8 years, and it was one of the first to popularize this at-home sleep tracking. From a designer perspective, then I really like the Oura Ring and its simple design. From a user interface perspective, then it's also very minimalistic. When you open up the app, it tells you your last night's sleep score based on how well you slept, and it also gives you your readiness score based on your recovery. The sleep tracking includes the time it takes you to fall asleep, when do you fall asleep, how long you stay in different sleep stages, how many times do you wake up, and when do you wake up in the morning. The readiness tracking includes your resting heart rate during sleep, heart rate variability or HRV, and body temperature, which are useful for knowing your recovery. It's very simple and minimalistic, and out of the sleep trackers researched, it's one of the most accurate ones. Here are the pros of the Oura Ring: simplistic and minimalistic dashboard, very accurate sleep tracking, cool, minimalistic and slick design, airplane mode. You can put it on airplane mode while sleeping, and the ring still tracks your data. Then when you connect it with Bluetooth, it collects the data to the cloud. It also tracks your steps, heart rate, and HRV, all useful and fundamental physical activity metrics. And lastly, it has a decent battery life. 7 days, which I wish was even longer, but compared to other devices, it's pretty good. Here are the cons of the Oura Ring. You buy the ring for about $400, and then you also have to subscribe for $5.99 per month. They come out with the next generation ring every few years, so you have to buy the ring again. The subscription isn't that big, only $72 per year if you do the calculation, but the initial price of the ring is quite high, $400. So if they come out with a new ring every 3 years, then it means one cycle of a ring would cost somewhere around $600, which would be $200 per year, or $16 per month. If you do the math, then it's not that bad, only $16 per month. Even if you don't subscribe, you can see your basic sleep score and readiness score. You just won't be able to see the specifics about the stages of sleep. This isn't very good because you would still want to see all the data, but it's not the end of the world. And it can also be useful to just stop your subscription for, let's say, 4 months or 5 months because you don't need the details about your sleep. but you still want to see, okay, what's the average score so you can estimate how well you slept based on those metrics. So you can take like a mini break from the subscription every once in a while still seeing some very rudimentary data about your sleep and recovery. My overall rating for Oura Ring is 4.5 out of 5. Besides the addition of a subscription on top of buying the ring, the sleep data is quite accurate, and it has a very minimalistic and user-friendly app. Next we have 8 Sleep, which is a cooling sheet that you cover your mattress with. The pod is a device at the corner of your room that then directs cooling or warming water into your mattress. It also tracks your sleep. The temperature regulation is absolutely amazing, and it's the most effective cooling mattress that I've tried. It cools down the bed super fast, and you can also create certain programs with it. For example, you want your bed to be super cool at minus 10 degrees, like I do when I go to bed. You set your bedtime, which for me is 9:30 p.m, and then when I go to the bed, the pod has already turned on and cooled down the bed. Then you can program the pod to warm up at the second half of the night, let's say to only minus 3 or even plus 1 degrees, whatever you want. It's very useful during the summer and even in the winter if you want warmer temperatures. There are also some studies on 8 Sleep's cooling function. A 2024 randomized controlled trial found that sleeping 1 week on 8 Sleep with a cooling function during the first half of the night improved deep sleep by 14 minutes, plus 22% mean change, and REM sleep by 9 minutes, plus 25%. Men sleeping on the warmer temperature during the second half of the night saw a 23-minute improvement in light sleep, plus 19%. Overall heart rate decreased by 2%, and HRV increased by 7% when the temperature function was turned on. Now, the temperature can be very subjective. Some people like it cooler, other people like it warmer. The good thing about 8 Sleep is that you have 2 sides of the bed if you have the king size, so you can program each side to whatever temperature you like. Let's say your partner likes cool, you like it warm. Both of you can control your own sides of the bed and their temperature. The sleep tracking is also quite simple and minimalistic. The main score is the sleep fitness score that rates your sleep in percentages based on the duration and quality. It also tells you your sleep duration. Then for more details, you can see the different sleep stages. How much time did you spend in deep sleep, REM sleep, or light sleep? 8 Sleep has a page on their website where they say that their algorithm has 78% accuracy in detecting the correct sleep stages. However, they didn't cite any reference to a peer-reviewed study, so I'm not sure how accurate this statement is. Interestingly, when I track my sleep with the Oura Ring and the 8 Sleep, they get almost identical sleep scores. Remember that Oura Ring's 3-stage sleep tracking was 79% accurate, which is equal to 8 Sleep's claim of 78%. For example, on one night, my Oura Ring said I got 7 hours and 43 minutes of sleep, with 2 hours and 27 minutes of REM and 1 hour and 29 minutes of deep sleep. 8 Sleep on the same night said I got 7 hours and 45 minutes of sleep, with 2 hours and 22 minutes of REM sleep and 1 hour and 22 minutes of deep sleep. The biggest difference was that for Oura, this night was a score of 92, whereas for 8 Sleep, it was 100. So I would presume that 8 Sleep's sleep tracking is quite accurate based on this, and it's at least as good as Oura Ring's. 8 Sleep also tracks your HRV and resting heart rate, as well as respiratory rate, which refers to the amount of breaths you take per minute while sleeping. These are all very good metrics to track, and they're relevant to cardiovascular health, recovery, and all-cause mortality risk. 8 Sleep's respiratory rate accuracy is 98%, and heart rate accuracy is 99%. So I definitely love 8 Sleep's cooling function. It's the best one out there in my opinion, and I find their sleep tracking is also very simple and minimalistic. They tell you all the things you would benefit from and nothing else. Here are the pros of 8 Sleep. Minimalistic and simple user interface, which makes the app easy to use. Amazing temperature regulation. Easy and convenient sleep tracker. The sleep tracker appears to be as accurate as the Oura Ring, based on my own sleep tracking. And lastly, there's no battery charging. You just set it and forget it. Your pod turns on automatically at your programmed bedtime. You do have to add more water to the pod, but that's only like once or twice a year. The cons of 8 Sleep are that there's no airplane mode, although it doesn't emit a lot of EMF. It's significantly less than your phone or Wi-Fi, and I haven't seen any disturbance on my sleep when using the 8 Sleep. Secondly, the temperature doesn't always work. I've found that sometimes if it's extremely hot, like 30 degrees Celsius in the summer, then the cooling function doesn't feel like it's that cold, even though I put it to minus 10 degrees. It feels like it's still only minus 1 degrees, which could be because of the outside temperature is just so hot. And lastly, the biggest con is that it's high price, over $2,000. 8 Sleep is much more expensive than other trackers, but it makes sense because it's also a mattress cover. 8 Sleep Pod 3 costs around $2,300, and the newest Pod 4 costs $4,600, which is quite expensive. My overall 8 Sleep ranking is 4.2 out of 5. It's very simple and minimalistic in terms of the sleep tracking and the app. You just set it and forget it, and you have cooling functions, which is great for sleep quality. I guess the biggest con for reducing the rating would be that it doesn't have an airplane mode, but personally I haven't noticed any difference. Next we have Whoop, which isn't a ring but it's a band that you wear around your wrist or ankle. Whoop shows your time in bed, sleep consistency, percentage of restorative sleep, and your predicted sleep depth. To know your deep sleep and REM sleep, you need to go to another tab that looks at restorative sleep in hours, and there you can see the hours of deep sleep and REM sleep. In my opinion, it's kind of a hassle and inconvenient to do that in an extra step. I would just want to know that as one of the first things without having to search for it. Based on the studies, then Whoop's 4-stage sleep tracking is 60% accurate, which isn't that bad. But it's less accurate than Oura. For me, Whoop has quite a bad user interface and experience. The app is hard to navigate, and the metrics they tell you are not intuitive, and they're a bit hard to interpret for a new user who's first using the device. Whoop does have useful graphs and trend lines that can be insightful if you've been using the band for many months. However, it can also be just unnecessary and kind of excessive. Plus, all the other devices, like Oura and 8Sleep, have very similar graphs and trends already, so you're not missing out on anything. Whoop isn't primarily a sleep tracker, and it should be more thought of as a recovery tracker, because it tracks your physical activity and what they call strain. I find this metric to be quite useful because you can track how much physical activity are you doing every day, and then based on that, see if you're overtraining or not. Whoop will also look at your heart rate and HRV to then measure your recovery. It has some algorithm to predict your recovery based on your sleep and those other metrics. But how accurate is this recovery and strain? I think it's pretty good. On the days I exercise more, like 1 hour cardio or something like that, then my strain will be higher, and the band will tell me to take it easier the next day. Likewise, if my sleep score was bad, the band tells me to also aim for lower amounts of strain. So you can already intuitively feel whether or not you should exercise less or more on a given day based on how you sleep. Here are the pros of Whoop. It's useful for tracking strain or physical exhaustion. And you have a free trial. You can get it for free during the trial period to try it out and then decide if you want to subscribe to the program. Whoop's yearly subscription costs $239, which is $19 per month. And a 2-year subscription costs $399, which is $16 per month. But you have to pay it up front. That's not very bad, although it's a little bit more expensive than Oura for the 1-year subscription. Here are the cons of Whoop. It's not the most accurate when it comes to sleep tracking. It doesn't have a very good user interface on the app. It has a pretty low battery life of only 4 to 5 days. When I was using Whoop, then I felt like it was always out of battery, and I missed sleep tracking on a lot of nights because of that. And it also doesn't have airplane mode, so you can't turn it off during sleep. My overall rating for Whoop is 3 out of 5. I found that the sleep tracking was not that good compared to Oura, and the user interface was also quite more complex and difficult to navigate. Ultrahuman is the new kid on block. It's been around for only 2 years, and it's also a sleep ring that pretty much looks like Oura. When it comes to sleep tracking, then I feel that the Ultrahuman is slightly less accurate than Oura. Remember that my 8Sleep and Oura sleep data was almost identical. On that same night, the Ultrahuman said I got 7 hours and 38 minutes of sleep, which is almost identical to Oura and 8Sleep. Ultrahuman also said I got 2 hours and 15 minutes of REM sleep, which is almost identical to Oura and 8Sleep. However, according to Ultrahuman, I got 32 minutes of deep sleep, which is much lower than Oura or 8Sleep. Instead, it told me I got 4 hours and 29 minutes of light sleep, which doesn't make sense, and that I was awake for 1 hour and 42 minutes, which definitely didn't happen. So what I think is that Ultrahuman is as accurate as Oura when it comes to the 2-stage sleep tracking, being awake or being asleep. It's also accurate for 3-stage sleep tracking, being awake, light sleep, and either REM sleep or deep sleep. But Ultrahuman is slightly less accurate when it comes to 4-stage sleep tracking, differentiating between REM sleep and deep sleep. At least based on my experience and when I compare it to Oura and 8Sleep that tend to match. This was confirmed to me by other nights I wore Ultrahuman. It always said I got less than 1 hour of deep sleep and that I was awake over 2.5 hours, which definitely didn't happen. On those same exact nights, my 8Sleep told I got 1 hour and 41 minutes of deep sleep and no wakefulness, which would make more sense. It's natural that you wake up every once in a while during the sleep and you don't remember it, but it's definitely not 2 hours per night. Now, I might be wrong, maybe Ultrahuman is gonna do more clinical trials in the future, and I'm happy to change my mind. But based on my experience, Ultrahuman is more accurate than Whoop, but Ultrahuman isn't more accurate than Oura Ring or 8Sleep. Ultrahuman has some other scores it gives you, such as your movement score, daily steps, and your stress rhythm. The stress rhythm is based on your heart rate throughout the day when you are working out and when you are doing your daily activities. It pretty much counts your average heart rate throughout the day and predicts when you are stressed out or in a sympathetic state. When you work out, it obviously goes into the sympathetic state, but when you stop working out, your heart rate should normalize. Ultrahuman also tells you your caffeine window, basically what's a good time to consume caffeine and when to stop it so it doesn't disrupt your sleep. This reminder is great and useful, but I think most people will drink coffee when they want to anyway. If you are struggling with sleep, it can be useful for cutting out caffeine after certain hours. Here are the pros of Ultrahuman. It has only a one-time price of $350, which is lower than the Oura, and it has no subscription unlike Whoop and Oura. So Ultrahuman is the cheapest version over the long term. If your Ultrahuman lasts for 5 years, let's say, which it could, it will cost you around $70 per year or only $6 per month. Second, there's a unique stress window and circadian window. This can be useful to track your heart rate throughout the day and then see if you're too sympathetic for no reason other than working out. Ultrahuman has a continuous glucose monitoring system that you can get. It's obviously not in the ring, but you have to get a separate glucose monitor. It's just the app is the same, which can be convenient to have all of your data in one app. Here are the cons of Ultrahuman. There's no airplane mode, which is what you would ideally want during sleep, but I think it's not very high in EMF. It has a complex user interface. There's a ton of data that often feels overwhelming and confusing. Some new unconventional metrics that might take you time to get used to. If you're a data nerd, then it's great. But if you want something simplistic and minimalistic, then it's overwhelming. And lastly, sometimes the sleep tracking isn't accurate. It's either not tracking the correct bedtime, or it tracks you being awake when you're actually asleep. Ultrahuman often told me I went asleep 3 hours later than when I actually fell asleep. And it registered me being awake for several hours per night, which doesn't make sense. My overall rating for Ultrahuman is 3.8 out of 5. It has a lot of things to improve upon, but because it's a new app and it's a new team, I do think that they will work on improving their algorithm, improving their user interface, and improving their sleep tracking. So the Ring will definitely get better over time or with the next generations. So let's bring it all together. Here is my overall rating for these sleep trackers. Oura Ring 4.5 out of 5, 8 Sleep 4.2 out of 5, Ultrahuman 3.8 out of 5, and Whoop 3 out of 5. I'm gonna be honest, going into making this video, I didn't think that Oura Ring would be the best sleep tracker. I actually had a negative bias going into it because Oura had introduced like their subscription a few years ago, which they didn't have before. They used to just, buy the ring and you use it for free. But while I was making this video, doing the research, comparing the data, then I must say that yes, the Oura Ring is kind of the best ring out of these four at least. Like I said, I'm not sponsored by any of these companies, so I'm just sharing my own unbiased opinion. I just prefer to have like a more minimalistic and simple app design, and the sleep metrics, I don't want to have like a ton of additional information. I just want to know, okay, how much did I sleep? How much time did I spend in different sleep stages? How much time did I wake up? What's my HRV? What's my heart rate? What's my respiratory rate? Etc. And out of 4 of these trackers, the Oura Ring and the 8 Sleep mattress tend to do that the best. I'm not going to continuously keep using the Oura because I already have the 8 Sleep mattress, and I just don't want to be bothered by charging the ring every few days. That's why I like the 8 Sleep set it and forget it system. However, if I wanted to track my sleep more regularly, I personally would be using the Oura. If you want to know how I took my sleep score from 77 to 100, then check out this video next. Other than that, thanks for watching this video. Make sure you click a like and subscribe for future videos about living longer and staying healthier. My name is Siim. Stay optimized, stay empowered.